Yabila. Greetings to each of you. Welcome to another moment with Yabila. I am your friend and confidant, Yabila Hanaya. Before we get started, I want to remind you to become a patron of Oil for Your Lamp. And as a special welcome, if you become a patron at the second tier level and remain a patron through March 1st, I will send you an autographed copy of my companion piece booklet to Oil for Your Lamp, and it's entitled Phase 2020. And it deals directly with a revelation I received regarding the 3 phases of the year 2020. It's definitely worth the read, so be sure and become a patron. That web address is patreon.com/Yabila. In fact, both books, the other book, the main initiative book, entitled Oil for Your Lamp, that will also be available on March 14th, but I will keep you posted on that. Now, without further ado, let's get to our topic at hand. And it is entitled Distractions and Other Gateways to the Soul. Distractions and Other Gateways to the Soul. Now, for the believer who strives daily to honor the Most High by obeying His laws, statutes, and commandments, the only way Lucifer can gain access to your life is through a strategy of distractions and other gateways to your soul. Now, we're going to cover some of those other gateways, even, a few of the distractions. We won't be able to cover them all, but we'll cover enough so that we can get the general idea. And we'll begin with the eyes. And the eyes are a major gateway to the soul. You can look, for instance, into the eyes of an individual and know a lot about the condition of their soul. And you can also look through your eyes and invite spirits into the soul. Let's go deeper into it. You invite spirits into the soul by, for instance, watching films, videos, TV shows that contain situations of witchcraft and voodoo and sorcery and tarot card reading. You become intrigued and curious, especially when a soothsayer has all of their equipment out on the table and doing a so-called reading on a celebrity or some other important corporate head or something. You become distracted by the curiosity and the intrigue, and you let your guard down. And when you let your guard down, demonic influence slips in. And this is why we are commanded in Scripture to guard your heart. Guard it. Now let's look at this guard concept. Every important entity whose value is worthy of protection has a security detail in place to secure each access point against intrusion. They're referred to as security guards. And for instance, the president has security, the queen, even wicked celebrities have security guards. So-called mega pastors now surrounding themselves with guards. Banks, etc. Anything important and worthy of protection, right? So now, removing security from some of these that I just mentioned, imagine the consequences. Imagine the president going out without any type of security, becoming exposed to the public. Just imagine that. Do you see the guard concept? And now keep in mind also, the flip side of that is, even when guards are in place, sometimes the intruder tests the strength and the prowess of these guards by trying to invade by way of direct confrontation. I mean, they'll just kick the door in or attach a local explosive and just blow the door off, So letting down your guard is dangerous enough, but you also have to be so fortified in the presence of Yahuwah that even when there is an attack on your guardianship, you have to be able to stand and endure. So letting down your guard is never an option, beloved, never. Therefore, we have to bring ourselves into alignment with what's required for us to endure. So watching these videos and movies or TV programs containing practitioners of witchcraft and voodoo and witch doctors using bones and rocks to read situations, or movies like The Exorcist, these are all dangerous to your soul's security. It's a letting down of the guard. So watching these images make mental impressions on your mind that create thoughts long after you've seen it. Those thoughts will remain. And once your mind is invaded, it affects your transformation from darkness to light. Once you have received salvation and forgiveness of sins, you are filled with the light of righteousness. Now remember, we're instructed to be transformed by the renewing of the mind. So this lets you know that the mind is a very vital part of your salvation and your sustaining. And there are things that we view and listen to that pollute the mind, which brings us to the next gateway, which is the ear. Now, the ear and the eyes work in tandem with each other, but the ear is also a gateway, all right? Even if you're just listening to something and not using your eyes at the moment. And so what we hear goes into our mind, our heart, and our soul eventually. And that's why, you ever thought that sometimes a tune you heard on a commercial or a movie or just something randomly playing on the radio over and over, it plays over and over in your mind, in your spirit. And even sometimes you find yourself humming it or singing it without realizing it. But that lets you know that what you heard has worked its way so far into you that it's becoming a part of you and becoming a spontaneous reaction now. So listening to or entertaining gossip is another form of demonic influence, finding access into your soul. You know, those juicy details that malign someone's character or expose their secrets to their weaknesses or vulnerability. You know, you eagerly give attention to those details that poison the spirit and corrupt the mind and heart. You know, you turn from compassion to contempt when you do give yourself over to listening to that kind of thing. You go from being a loyal supporter to a wavering betrayal. So, guarding yourself against listening to gossip is also something we should do. How about listening to vulgar comedy acts? You know, I remember as a young girl, my uncle had some albums, the 78 albums, the big round records, by a lady named Mums Mabley. She talked real funny and she did a lot of cursing. And they would just laugh and fall out laughing when they would get together sometimes on weekend nights. And when we were there, we would sneak and listen to them ourselves, and we'd laugh and fall out because she sounded so funny, but we had no idea the extent of what she was saying. We were laughing because she sounded funny, like a person who didn't have any teeth. And I'm telling you this to say that pretty much all comedy is vulgar and should be avoided as a precaution against having your soul invaded by demonic influence. It's not that the comedian is evil or wicked. They're just caught up in evil and wicked dialogue. And soon this stuff overtakes you and becomes a part of your very fiber of your being. You say, well, what's wrong with laughter? Even the scripture says laughter does you good like a medicine. And that is true. Scripture does say that. Nothing is wrong with laughter itself. My family laughs all the time, so it's not the laughter that's questionable. It's the content or situation that provokes the laughter. Manufactured laughter, for instance, at the expense of others, is the same as scoffing. And what I mean by that is, I remember seeing a comedian a few years ago who twisted his mouth, deformed his walk, and went across the stage behaving like a person who was born with physical deformities. And the audience just got a major kick out of that, and the roaring laughter in the room was deafening. But that was scoffing. And it is usually based on some form of vulgarity also. So, again, the laughter is not the question here. It's the content and situation that provokes the laughter that comes under scrutiny. So laughter from a pure place during pure teachable moments, instruction, this is different because this laughter spawns from a place of joy, and recollection as you remember how far mercy has brought you. Some of the really ignorant positions you were in before you were introduced to the truth and embraced by Yah's salvation. So it's not the laughter, beloved. We are to laugh. The joy of the Lord, as Scripture puts it, is our strength. Sometimes you can laugh when nothing's funny. This is the laughter that does us good like a medicine. The laughter that comes out of our spirit and energizes every cell of our body. This is the laughter it's referred to. It's not all this random laughter at corrupt jokes and people making fun of holy and divine subjects that they have no understanding of. This is not laughter that should be had. So let's move on to another gateway, which is common to most of us, which are dreams. Yes, dreams are another gateway into the soul. The Most High used dreams to communicate with his people. He appeared to Joseph in a dream, remember, when he wanted to instruct him how to deal with Mary and their pregnancy situation. Also, he gave Pharaoh a dream of the coming famine and how to prepare for it, even though Pharaoh had to have a man of God to interpret it. Yahuwah still gave him the dream. So anything that Yah does, Satan wants to use that same avenue to deceive people, because anything related to Yahuwah, our spirit is more open to it. So if he comes at us through the same avenue that Yahuwah does, it is more likely that we are not going to be as guarded against it. So, where dreams are concerned, I find myself praying a lot and asking Yahuwah to help me distinguish between divine dreams and wicked ones, and asking him to give me the interpretation of them. And if they are not from him, that I would reject them, cancel any covenant I made during that dream unawares. You understand? Because this is the whole purpose of a dark satanic dream, is to get you to make covenant with it by entertaining it and thinking on it and believing it to be something of divine. So do not entertain dreams with meditative thought, long thought processes, especially when you don't understand them. And by all means, don't try to relegate your own meaning to them, because dreams are interpreted through wisdom. They usually have symbolic meanings, which is why prayer is necessary to decipher them if they are from Yahuwah. And if they are not from Yahuwah, as I said, it's good to cancel them, reject them, and refuse to embrace them. So instead, invite Yahuwah to help you distinguish, and immediately renounce, reject, and cancel dreams and covenants that you may have made with darkness unawares. And the same rule applies to music and those sex magazines and romance novels. Now, romance novels are very, very bad for your spirit, because they are speckled throughout with a lot of sexual implications, and in many cases sexual perversion, explicit sex. Okay? Demonic spirits are attached to many of the pastimes that we enjoy and engage in. Pastimes that appear innocent enough on the surface are usually steeped in darkness. Many of these pastimes are created by wicked individuals, people who engage in satanic rituals and praise satanic persuasion over their inventions before they go to market. Oh yeah, this is a reality, beloved. This thing is diabolical. And here in the land of our captivity, we are surrounded by darkness, surrounded by it. Distraction and corruption are everywhere. And there are several things happening at once to make sure that everybody, not only believers in Yahuwah who walk with him daily, because scripture said that the righteous will be barely saved. So it lets us know what type of environment is saturated with all this darkness around us. These distractions, we've got assassinations of leaders in sovereign lands, creating the atmosphere for war. Over here, we got the distraction of impeachment proceedings. Over there, we've got political arguments going on and all these cryptic tweets and entertainment gossip going on the other end, and the list goes on. So there's plenty to be distracted by. But the time we use seeking out these distractions and these intrigues is more time taken away from study and prayer. And believe me, we are going to need as much of this word in us as we can, hiding it in our hearts, because the time is approaching that we are not going to be allowed to have any books of divine, any scripture reference. We're not going to be allowed to speak publicly of our sovereign Elohim. There will be a famine of the word in the land, so we must use our time wisely to fortify ourselves against what's coming. We must. So the focus is to work toward discerning between distraction and to know when an alien spirit is trying to gain access to your soul. And the best thing to do, beloved, is to keep that issue before the Father in prayer, asking Him to sharpen your discernment and deliver you from TV and movies and music addictions. And some have social media addictions, not necessarily using it for ministry or research. That's a different subject altogether. This is Yah-inspired. I'm talking about the social media addiction that causes you to blindly surf the web looking for gossip, looking for celebrities or controversy among peers. When you're using it for that, or looking for young people to deceive and lure away from home, looking for pornographic sites, this means you are operating on a low and dark frequency, and it won't take much for darkness to overtake you. Remember, Lucifer is prince of the air. He controls the airways. But also remember that you are given power over all the power of the devil. If you have been translated into Yah's kingdom, you have access to such power. Now, we've reached the end of this podcast, beloved, and I pray that Yahuwah accomplished what He intended so that His glory is revealed. I thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to become a patron of Oil for Your Lamp. Let's build ourselves up together. I could have posted these things on my regular site, but this is at Yahuwah's direction. Some things He does not want us casting before the swine. If you are truly seeking and looking for salvation, and you do want oil for your lamp to prepare for the dark times that are coming, then that's where you can find such oil at patreon.com/Yabila. Join at the second tier level and remain through March 1st. And as I said at the beginning, I will send you an autographed copy of Phase 2020. It's a short read companion piece to Oil for Your Lamp, and it's really worth the read. I look forward to seeing you there, beloved. Peace be unto you and yours.
Thank you for tuning in to
Moments with Yabila.